Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradare. Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradare. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradare. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradare. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Bhavakatara Sata Sata Shri Shamad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Bhavakacharya Sata Sata Shri Shamad. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. And we're in chapter 3. And the verse tonight is 35. Shreyan swadharmo vegunaha paradama swarastutat swadharme niranam shreyam paradamo bhayavaha Shreyan swadharmo vegunaha Haradhamat svanustitat Sadharme niranam shreya Paradharmo bhayavaha Shreyan swadharmo viguna Haradhamat svanustitat Swadharme niranam shreya Paradharmo bhayavaha. Vaishnavis. Word for word. Sadrisham. I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Shreyan. Far better. Swadharmaha. One's prescribed duties. Vigunaha. Even faulty. Paradharmat. Then duties mentioned for others. Sunanistutat, perfectly done. Swadharme, in one's prescribed duties. Nidanam, destruction. Shreya, better. Paradharma, duties prescribed for others. Bhaya avaha, dangerous. Translation and purports by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Please repeat. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Purport. One should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness, rather than those prescribed for others. Materially, prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition, under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties, even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for his particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is nonviolent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of nonviolence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana, or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashuram was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Om Gyanan Tamarandasha Gyanan Gyanan Salakaya Chakso Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swarupa Karamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagvajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savdvaitam Savdutam Parejana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Para Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari, Vishwabhanu Sutta Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vancha Kapya Sarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this chapter is entitled Karma Yoga. And I just wanted to talk briefly about karma. So in the introduction, Prabhupada explains what are the 5 topics in the introduction. Can someone tell me what they are? No one knows what the 5 topics are? And everyone knows. 5 topics, please. Yes, Prabhu? You speak loud? Yes. I didn't hear. I just heard Ishvara. Yes. The Jiva.
Jiva, material nature,
Yes.
karma,
Yes.
and time.
Yes. Now, one of these that were discussed, that's being discussed in the Gita, is not eternal. Which one is that?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I'll talk slower. Someone told me that my accent is not understandable. I'll talk slower. One of these that's discussed in the Bhagavad Gita is not eternal.
Material nature.
No, material nature is eternal. Karma.
Karma, yeah, karma.
Yes, it's karma. Karma is not eternal. So I just want to discuss a little bit about karma. So the title of this chapter is called Karma Yoga. But karma, whether it's good or bad, karma is a reaction, action that creates a reaction. Like in the Bible, it said that sow as you reap, you will sow. And in Newton's law, in physics, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the karmic reactions include not only the things that happen to us, but it determines our health, it determines our wealth, it determines our intelligence, it determines our physical appearance, it determines our social status, as well as our personalities and our inclinations. And Krishna has given us a minute degree of independence, and we can make choices. And we're here in this material world because we wanted to rule over material nature. We wanted to imitate Krishna. And so karma is also, we get a reaction and we have to come back again according to our actions. And we have to continue this cycle of birth and death, this samsara, because we're creating karma by our actions. But this chapter is entitled Karma, Karma Yoga, or it could be called Karma Yoga or Action in Krishna Consciousness, or the Yoga of Selflessness. So this means basically that we can perform our prescribed duties, but we offer them to the Supreme Lord. And a karma yogi, or a detached worker, although working, he does not incur reactions if he's offering all his work to Krishna, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjuna is deciding he doesn't want to fight. He wants to go to the forest. He wants to become a brahmana. He wants to be a sage, a sadhu, and go to the forest. But Krishna is telling him that he's a fool to be thinking that way. He can't understand why, as a sattva, he started thinking like this. But because Arjuna had a compassionate heart, he didn't want to kill his relatives. He would rather go to the forest. But Krishna was telling him that if you don't do your duty, then you're gonna incur a bad name. You're gonna be dishonored, and dishonor for a Kshatriya is worse than death. And we know that definitely Arjuna had a Kshatriya spirit because we can see in his training through Dronacharya that he was very enthusiastic to perform those activities that were prescribed for him by Dronacharya. And he even thought up some activities that Dronacharya didn't think of. Like one night, Arjuna was up late and he noticed that an owl was up at night, and that's the time of night that the owl was getting his food, that he was killing animals for his food. So then Arjuna started thinking, well, if the owl can hunt at night, why can't I shoot my arrows at night to my subject? And he practiced that. And he did this on his own. And even when Dronacharya set up, I think it was a bird in the tree, and he asked Duryodhana to shoot the bird. He asked him, what did you see? And everybody was saying, even Yudhisthira, even Duryodhana, they were saying, I saw the eye. I didn't see the eye. I saw the bird. I saw the tree. And they were giving all kinds of answers. But Arjuna was the one who was perfectly fixed. And all he saw was the eye of the bird. So he had this inclination from childhood. He was a Kshatriya by birth. He was a Kshatriya. So for him to decide, I want to give this up, I want to go to the forest, I want to kill my relatives, was not honorable for him to do. He would lose his fame, he would lose his good name, and then he would be preparing himself for the royal road to hell by neglecting his duties. And we can think of instances in our scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and as we look at this, particularly what stood out for me, one thing that really stood out for me was the fact that in the translation, at the end it says, for to follow another's path is dangerous. And I was thinking about, what did that mean? So we can see instances in the Srimad Bhagavatam. For instance, okay, let's look at Karna. Karna, who went to Parasuram to get trained. But he told Parasuram, he told a lie. He told Parasuram, I'm a Brahmana. So he lied in order to get that training from Parasuram. So then one time, Parasuram was taking a nap on Karna's lap. And while his spiritual master, Parasuram, was sleeping, and Karna was holding his head on his lap, a big insect came and was boring his way into Karna's thigh. But Karna, because he didn't want to disrupt his spiritual master's sleep, he took the pain. So when his spiritual master woke up and felt the blood on his face, he was asking Karna, what's going on? What happened? And Karna told him what happened, and then Parasuram got very, very angry. He said, a Brahmana couldn't have stood that pain. So you're not a Brahmana, you're a Kshatriya, and you lied to me. And he cursed Karna, that when you most need it, that mantra that you need to get out of your difficulty in the battlefield will not work for you. And we saw when Karna's chariot got stuck in the sand, he couldn't get it out, and that's when he got killed by Arjuna. That's when Krishna encouraged. Even then, Arjuna was reluctant to do that. But then Krishna reminded him of the things that Karna had done, and that he had participated in his son's death, Abhimanyu's death. So then Arjuna killed Karna. So that's one instance of taking on someone else's duties when that's not who you are actually. And then another one was Lord Indra. Lord Indra was trying to disrupt the, I think it was the Ashvamedha sacrifice. There's 100 horses being performed by Maharaj Parikshit. I think it was Parikshit. Yeah, I think it was Parikshit. And Indra dressed up to disrupt the sacrifices. Indra dressed up as a sannyasi went there several times to try to disrupt this sacrifice. And this created, so he set an example, and this created successive imitations of a sannyasi. We can see even now today that there are sadhus who are not actually sadhus. They dress like sadhus, but they smoke bidi or they have association with women. They're false sadhus. So in the scriptures, and even Krishna wanted Arjuna to act as an example for the common men in general. And even Krishna himself, as a householder, he also did his duties. When Narada Muni went to visit Krishna, because he wanted to see how Krishna was doing all of this, taking care of 16,108 wives. So each time Narada Muni went to each house, there was Krishna, because Krishna expanded himself, so each wife could have him there and not have to wait for him. They'd have to wait 16,107 nights before Krishna could come and visit him. But Krishna's not a human being, even though he acted like one. So Narada Muni went to each different house and he saw that Krishna was doing his duty as a householder. Now, Krishna doesn't have to do that. There's no need. But he also wanted to be an example. It is said that yadara charita shreshtas tatat ivataro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So this thing about being dangerous, yes, it creates a dangerous society. And we can see today that in most of the world governments, we have people who have no qualifications at all to be in those positions. They're all sudras and lower than sudras. Therefore, the world is in difficulty, and we'll be getting into more difficulty as time goes on, because we have lower than sudras who are governing people and causing trouble for all the praja, for all the innocent people in the world who are suffering today, because we have people in positions of power who have no business there, because they have no qualifications at all. They themselves think they are God. And they do not have the welfare of the people in general in mind. All they have is greed to control the world and control all the resources of Mother Nature. And then there was another example, for instance, like Kali, who was dressed as who assumed the dress of a king, but he was beating the cow and the bull. So this was causing a disturbance, and he was abusing Mother Earth, and this was creating havoc. But when he saw that another time, I think this was also King, was this King Prithu or King Parikshit? Anyone know? Prithu or Parikshit. I get the two mixed up. Whichever one it was, but I think it was King Parikshit. When Kali saw that King Parikshit was going to kill him, he surrendered and wanted to know, where can I go? You know. So all these people are imitating what happened in the past when persons were not performing their prescribed duties. So Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight for the right cause. Krishna was in control of the war. He's the one that wanted it to happen. I mean, even they tried so many avenues to bring about peace, but the Kauravas, led by Duryodhana, were determined they wanted to fight. And Arjuna didn't want to fight them, but he was justified in killing them because of all the crimes that they had committed against the Pandavas. And Krishna wanted the Pandavas to rule the world because they were very righteous. So he wanted Arjuna to fight for the right cause. And the Lord wanted to get rid of the burden of the demoniac kings on the earth. And I think in that war there was over 600,000 or 600 million, I think it was 600 million people who were killed in that war. And so he was saying to Arjuna, you know, like regardless of the opposite party, Krishna was chastising Arjuna for exhibiting the mood of nonviolence, and that wasn't befitting a Kshatriya, his duty as a Kshatriya. So in this purport, it goes on to say that spiritual duties are those ordered by the bona fide spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. So either material or spiritual, either way, we have to follow the authorized direction. And Prabhupada always says, when he talks about the spiritual master, he always says bona fide. And there's a reason for that, because we have also, you know, spiritual masters who are not following the disciplic succession, who are not bona fide, and who lead people astray as well. So Prabhupada always says the word bona fide. And the reason he says that, so that we won't be misled as well. So we're supposed to do our prescribed duties up to death. So every conditioned soul is under the condition of the modes of material nature. So we have to follow the prescribed rules. If we're transcendental, if we're fully in Krishna consciousness, then by the order of the spiritual master, we can do anything, everything. But until we reach at least the platform of goodness or the platform of transcendence, then we have to do our prescribed duties, the duties prescribed to us by the spiritual master. And he knows our psychophysical nature, what would be the best for us. He observes the student, and he gives them the service befitting their nature. And also these distinctions that are made, like the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Sudra, all of these varnas and ashrams are not transcendental, but they're meant to bring the population through a process of purification. This system was created by the Lord. And so he set up the system so at least the living entity can go gradually through this process and get purified and gradually come to the platform of Krishna consciousness, of serving in Krishna consciousness. And so all these, as I said before, in terms of, all the things that are going on in the world tonight, and today, is because, everyone's taking on duties that are not their prescribed duties. And people are attracted to that, and they'll follow. So we also, as Vaishnavas, have a responsibility to set an example, to be exemplary in our behavior. Because Prabhupada wanted us to be perfect ladies and perfect gentlemen. So in order to do, Prabhupada gave an example, like, okay, if you whatever work you're doing, whatever kind of work you're doing, you should offer it all to Krishna. He gives the example, the analogy of a woman who has a paramour, but in her household duties, she's doing everything very nicely and with full attention, but yet always thinking of her paramour. So all of us should be doing our prescribed duties, whether we're in the temple or whether we have to work outside, whether we're householders and have a job. We have to always think of Krishna. We have to offer everything we're doing to Krishna. And the way we do that is we have to develop a strong love for the Lord. And that way we can always think of him and remember him. And Krishna's arranging that for our benefit so that we can all come home back to Godhead. He's given us a system to follow. And you can perform all your household duties nicely, all your work nicely, but always think of the Lord and always remember the Lord. And remember that we are not the doers, actually. The activities are carried out by the three modes of material nature. We're controlled by the three modes of material nature. So the only solution is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Krishna says, as we know, in 1866, Sarva Dhamma Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papyo Moksha Yashmi Ma Suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So throughout the Gita, at the end of all the chapters, this is the bottom line, that we all have to surrender to Krishna. So I'll end the class here and ask for comments, criticisms, and corrections. Hare Krishna. Can you give her the mic so I can hear, please?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Very nice.
Krishna.
Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture. Mataji, we as a devotees, what are we supposed to do? Like, are we supposed to follow what exactly Prabhupada is writing in, like we have to follow the dharma, or we have to follow Krishna consciousness? Like, what is...
I don't
what is
know if
our
there's
duties?
echo. I can't hear the question.
What is our duty? Like, we have to follow this Swadharma, what Prabhupada is saying?
What is our okay?
Yeah.
What is our duty?
Yeah, as a devotee.
The devotees?
We have to follow this, I mean, this Swadharma.
Do we have to follow?
This duty is what Prabhupada is saying.
Yes.
Like, Brahmana,
We all,
Kshatriya,
as devotees, we all have duties that we're performing. No, you have something that you're doing
Yeah.
that's related to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like suppose in our, like, like it's like I came to know I'm like Vaishya, I came to know about this thing. So,
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing. Maybe you can come a little closer so I can.
Mataji, like in my chart, like horoscope chart, I came to know that I'm a Vaishya, So what is my duty, in fact, because...
You mean...
yeah, I'm working as a teacher, but am I following it or not? Just wanted to know this.
Me as a teacher?
Yeah?
Well, if you're doing your duties as a teacher, you're teaching, you're here in the Gita class, you come to the Srimad Bhagavatam class, you come to the Guru Puja, so you're obviously pursuing Krishna consciousness and you're doing your duties as a teacher, no? That's it?
Yeah.
Yes, so it's fine. Just do your duty as a teacher and continue trying to develop your Krishna consciousness and offer it all to Krishna. So if you're coming, to the programs, you're coming temple programs, you're coming to Bhagavad Gita, you're chanting, you're doing your duty as a teacher, then you'll gradually rise to the mode of goodness. So you're doing your duties and you're offering it all to Krishna.
And what about the duty as a woman, I mean, just wanted to know about that also.
Can somebody repeat that?
Woman as a woman.
What about women?
Yeah. Am I performing my duty properly?
Well, I don't know what you're doing in your life, except you just told me that you're a teacher.
Okay.
Are you have children? You have a husband?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Mataji.
Mm-hmm. We can talk after more if you want. Yeah. You have a question? Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming to the Gita class. Hare Krishna.